Hey gang, Bob from Skillz here. Today, we're going to be replacing sway bar bushings and sway bar end links on the front end of a 2003 Toyota RAV4. This here is the patient, and we're going to take very good care of her today. So I bought myself some Moog or Moog end links here. They're more rugged than the stock ones that were on the vehicle originally. And here are the bushings that I got on eBay. Bushings I paid about $20 for, and I paid $59.63 for the end links themselves. So the whole project itself cost me about $80. Here I'm placing a couple of blocks of wood on the backs of the tires there on the rear just to prevent any rollback. Safety first. So here I've lifted the car up a little bit and I'm starting to loosen the lug nuts up on the tires themselves. So now I'm putting the tri-stands in place to keep the front end of the car up in the air. Ta-da! And now the lug nuts will come off, as will the tires. The front driver's side tire didn't want to come off. Sometimes the rust kind of wells it in place, but there is a solution for that. A rubber mallet. You just simply tap on the rim, and eventually it comes loose. Results will definitely vary depending on how long it's been since the rim has been removed from the car. I live on a dirt road, so that certainly doesn't help matters. Okay, so here's what we're working on. What we're looking at is the sway bar end link here. That's the top of it, and that is the very bottom of it, and that's the sway bar itself. And I'm trying to get you a good view of where the bushing is, which is right there, along with the bracket. And there's a better picture of it right there, and you can see the bracket there as well. So now what I'm doing is taking some WD-40 and I'm going to spray it on each of the nuts that we're going to be removing for these end links and the bracket for the bushings itself. Being that they're rusted and full of dirt and grime, it's going to be very difficult to get them out, so it's always good to have an edge, and WD-40 does help. Here I'm using a hand ratchet and a 9/16 deep socket. Now there's nuts on both sides of the mount here. They are welded in place by rust, given that it's been mounted to the vehicle for so long. So the first thing we need to do is free up the rust so that we can loosen those nuts up. Note to self, get yourself an impact wrench. Here you can start to see the end of the ratchet start to move. Mission accomplished. Here I'm using a 9/16 wrench to hold the other nut in place while I remove the front nut. As you can imagine, the threads on these are very rusted up, full of gunk and dirt, so it's somewhat difficult to get these nuts off. There are times when you just simply can't get them off, and alternative methods are needed, like, for example, an angle grinder. And the top nut comes off. Beautiful. So far, so good. And now for the bottom. The bottom nut definitely proved to be a lot more challenging than the top one. I couldn't get the nuts to break free using this method, so what I did was I took a bar and attached it to the end of the ratchet to give me more torque. And this was the result. The nut didn't move off the threads. Instead, the threads kind of twisted off. Time to take the bracket off for the bushing. And the bracket just simply pops right off at this point. So here's the old bushing. As you can see, it's pretty frayed on the top end, and it's really not as rigid as the new replacement. You can see it's stretched out in certain areas. Definitely needed to be replaced. And here's the new one. As you can see, it looks new. The new bushing is made out of polyurethane, whereas the old one's made out of rubber. This should translate into a nice, stiffer ride, and it should last longer.
Alright guys, now that we've got the driver's side bushing out, and we also have the end linked out, we're going to go ahead and put the replacement in. Before we go ahead and do that, we want to make sure that it's all lubed up. We want to make sure that we get it inside the hole here, and we also get it along the outside so that there's no chafing or premature wear. Trust me, you don't want to do this in the immediate future, and you will if you don't properly lube up your bearing. I know there's a lot of that's what she says jokes in there, but trust me, you really want to do this in order to do it correctly and not have to worry about it for 5+ years. So that's what it looks like. That's the lube. So we do not want to spare any lube, so you just get your finger in there. I am very sorry about the that's what she said jokes, but you got to get your finger in there and then just go crazy on the inside, just twisting it around. Do not spare it, take some more. And make sure that you do a really, really good job lubing the inside, because if there's any dry spots, really what's going to end up happening is that polyurethane, which is what this is made out of, is going to wear that much quicker, and the bearing's not going to last quite as long. I also take a little bit of lube and I'll do it along the insides in here too, just to prevent any outside premature wear. So I'm doing that now. I don't know if you can see that. Boy, this stuff is sticky. Ugh. Are you not entertained? Seriously though, I hope this helps you out. You know, I scoured YouTube looking for videos on how to do this, and I found all sorts of cars, all sorts of Fords and Toyotas and everything, but I couldn't find one specific to my make and model, which is a 2003 Toyota RAV4. So I figured since I had a YouTube channel, I might as well go ahead and get that up there so that, you know, if anybody has a Toyota RAV4 in the 2000 to 2005 range, which is what these really fit onto here, this would help you out in terms of getting yours repaired. And of course, doing it yourself is a lot less expensive than, say, having somebody else do it, which is why the video is up. And I know I'm blabbing, I'm sorry, but it is something to talk about while I'm lubing. All right, so that's all lubed up, so that looks good. And I'm just going to take a second to clean off my hands. Oh man, that stuff is really, it's sticky. It's like a glue. A glue, but it isn't a glue.
Okay, so what I'm trying to do now is get the bushing put back in place, and that's proving to be somewhat challenging as well. Between the lube and how slippery it is, and trying to negotiate lifting the bar at the same time and all that fun stuff, it is somewhat of a challenge, but it does get done. Time to ratchet the bushings bracket back down.
As you can see here, on the left is the new end for the sway bar, the link, and the one on the right is the old one. The one on the left, I decided to go a lot beefier. I want a much stiffer suspension this time around, and I, again, don't want to have to worry about it until I decide to sell this vehicle, or I may eventually pass it on to my son. So now, what I'm going to need to do is, these come with grease fittings. As you can see here, they come with the grease fitting. That's a grease fitting, and then on this side it comes with a grease fitting. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not really sure how much grease is in there, but I'm going to give it a few pumps just in case, just to be sure. Sometimes they come with it, sometimes they don't. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now.
As always, thank you for watching. Click below to see part 2 of the video. Please feel free to comment and subscribe as well. I'd really appreciate it. Go on, click part 2 of the video. You can do it.